Was good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate reverse rants, no hate. So I want to talk about Artur beterbiev versus Joe Smith. It was a quick fight, 2 rounds. Joe Smith, he did what he knows how to do. Artur beterbiev showed he's a better boxer. I thought he was the better boxer overall. The great thing about him is he can box and he has power. And all his fights, were won by knockout. Now, when you get dropped by an opponent, people start to compare you and say, oh, he got dropped by this guy, so you know what this guy will do to him, which is one of the most false narratives that you can come up with, because it's not 100%. It's not even 90%, it's not even 80%. Because it's often that a guy gets knocked down or even beat or win a close decision against a guy that you think they're going to beat, that they're going to destroy. So you think automatically, well, this guy was going to beat him because he beat him and because he looked this way against him. We've talked about this before, and that's not the case. Now, watching him, I'm very interested to see him versus Bivol. Now, we know that Anthony Yard was ringside, and he pretty much wants to fight. He said that the guy looks slow, and, of course, he claims he win. Now, we'll see. If that fight takes place, we'll see. I'm not with all of the talking if you guys are not going to make the fight happen. If you don't want to make the fight happen, I'm not saying Anthony Yard doesn't want the fight. But at the end of the day, that's just what's been going on in boxing. So much talk and then too much talk, and then we've been getting good fights so far. For a while, we have been getting some good fights. But with the amount of fighters that's out there and all of the talking, and, that it kind of spoil the fight when you're talking about a fight, and then you look at two guys and go, man, these guys been going back and forth 3, 4, 5 years now, and nothing's happened. So that being said, the fight itself, Joe Smith was trying to be aggressive. That's the way he fights. But his style, when he's coming in behind the jab. He's throwing the jab. But what Artur, beterbiev and his team could see, he wasn't even really trying to land the jab when he was coming in. He was just trying to close the distance, and then he throw one shot, leave himself wide open. Artur beterbiev was catching with that overhand right all day. Too powerful, just too strong, too good overall. First round, he pretty much, you saw, okay, it's beterbiev he's on the back foot, but he can handle it. He can box, he can move, and also he can punch. So he was coming forward at times. He was moving. He was on the back foot, but when he would throw his punches, and he would crack Joe Smith and make him kind of like back up. He would pile up points. He dropped him 3 times overall in the fight. Once in the first, twice in the second. And basically, that rangefinder, you have to be careful, because when you're pushing that jab out, especially when you're not trying to land it, you're just using it to close distance. A sharp fighter is going to counter that shit. And that's what you saw Artur beterbiev do. He was countering it, and, he was hitting him with some shit. Caught him with an uppercut. He was catching him with hooks in the second round before he finished him off. And basically, I think the ref did what he was supposed to do. Now, all of this, let him go out in the shield. I will not be surprised if Artur beterbiev sent him to the hospital. I wouldn't be surprised if Joe Smith had to go to the hospital after that, man, because what people fail to realize, even in 2 rounds, okay, just say 3.5 minutes that they fought, just say, because I don't remember how long into the second round he stopped it, but he was hitting with some solid shots, man. And that's the thing about when you taking big shots, you're taking them and people commend you for your heart and for your determination and all that. You're a warrior. Hey, solid. But the referee's job is not to sit back and say, oh, I don't want to disappoint the fans. Let me let this guy just get beat some more. Man, that was nothing wrong with that stoppage, man. I don't give a shit if Joe Smith and company behind closed doors is bitching or go on social media. I'm not saying, I don't know if they are, but if they start, they should have let the fight go. No, hell no, they shouldn't. No, that referee did the right thing, because that dude was getting hammered. And with 3 knockdowns, I'm pretty sure it would have been 4. The fourth one could have been the final one, maybe not. Maybe he would have knocked him down 5 or 6, who knows. But at the end of the day, it was like, for what? Now, it's not much to say other than what I've said about as far as the fight goes. Salute both men for coming in and doing what they had to do. Now I'm looking at this, 168. Canelo Alvarez said he feels comfortable at 168, right? So more than likely, that's where he's going to stay. And he did say, and his team did say, that they don't, have any interest in going back down to 160. Now, Triple G is his next fight. That's going to be at 68. As we know, Demetrius Andre's 168. There's a couple other guys. I can't remember this guy name, but you got Benavidez there. You got Caleb Plant there, which he already fought, but hey, you never know what happened in the rematch. I forget the other guy's name, man. But anyway, I'm thinking now if Artur Beterbiev, because he wants to fight for Undisputed against Bivol. Bivol wants that fight. Whichever win that fight, in my opinion, both fighters can beat Canelo. Bivol already beat him. I don't care if it's 168 or 175. I think I always said I thought Beterbiev would beat Canelo. And people were saying, well, why would he go up to 175? And this was the whole argument about, well, damn, he's naturally bigger than Floyd, so why the fuck would Floyd go up to fight Andre Ward? You guys are talking about Floyd. If Floyd's so good, why don't he go up to fight Andre Ward at 175? Why would he when he came and make 154? So we talking about a guy in Canelo who's already went to 175 and beat someone. So it's not like he didn't go there already. Now, even if he doesn't go to 175 and he stays at 168, Artur Beterbiev or Bivol, whichever one of those guys win that fight, okay, for Undisputed. If they stay at 175, whoever's the champion decide, okay, let's just defend our titles, or however it may go. Depending on what's on the plate and depending on what happens, what Canelo decides he wants to do, the 168 division could get interesting, because I won't be shocked if either one of them decide to drop down to 68, to be honest with you, just for the sake of fighting Canelo. Now, at the same time, if that actually happens or not, if you look at what's going on at 68 right now, well, for Canelo to say that Demetrius Andre is a horrible fighter, but he's there now. I forget the other guy's name, man. I just had his name on the tip of my mind a few minutes ago. But for these guys that's there already, Canelo's in a position right now of, now it's not about, oh, they got to fight somebody to beat me. You just lost. It's your second loss. It's you just lost to Bivol. So even though Canelo is still considered the face of boxing, do you as Canelo fans, do you as, fuck that. Does you as boxing fans want to see a guy who's 32 years old, not 38, 39, 40, but 32 years old, do you want to see him sit back and cherry pick and not fight Demetrius Andre? Do you guys want to see him not fight Benavidez? And people going, oh, but he can't fight everybody. Well, no. You guys are the ones always tell about everybody fought everybody back in the day. We need to go back to that. But then when it comes to certain fighters, they get the protection plan from you guys. No, it doesn't work that way. If you claim to be the best and you are the face of the sport, then you have a duty to say, nah, I'm the face of the sport for a reason. Because at the end of the day, if Canelo was not fighting guys like, and look, he went to the zone, right? He's at the zone. If he's not fighting Demetrius Andre, if he's not fighting David Benavidez, if he's not fighting opponents that draw as well, that has a fan base as well, then what is he going to do for the zone? Because they're paying big money. And for what? For what? So you understand, at the end of the day, it's going to have to be a situation where, hey, man, look, we want to see you fight Demetrius Andre. Jamal Charlo expressed that he doesn't have an interest in going up because he's the champion at 160, right? Does Jamal Charlo want to unify his division? I don't know how bad he wants to do that. I can't sit here and say what he does and what don't want to do based on what he hasn't done. But the fact of the matter is, Jamal Charlo wants to defend his title. That's another accolade that a lot of fighters, have on their resumes, not just having the title, but how many times they defended that title. And things of that nature. Maybe he wanted to go down as the greatest middleweight or one of the greatest middleweight. Who knows, right? At the end of the day, though, looking at that 168 division, it will be very interesting if Bivol and beterbiev decide to go to 168, because not only that, now you can get beterbiev versus Benavidez. You know, these guys. Look, what I like about beterbiev mentality and Bivol, they're very humble. They don't talk shit, but they get the job done in the ring. I respect that. I highly respect that. I'm not into all that big mouth shit. I'm not. I've never really gotten to fighters that talk a lot of shit. Now, you can talk shit and back it up. That's one thing. But I just like the mentality that they have. They don't have to do all of that psychology shit. They just go in the ring. Either I'm gonna beat you or you gonna beat me. But I'm coming to fight. I respect that. Now, a guy like Joe Smith, who was a good fighter, we're not gonna shit on Joe. We're not going to shit on Joe. We're not going to shit on Canelo because he lost a fight. We're not going to shit on Teofimo because he lost a fight. We're not going to shit on any of these fighters because they lost a fight. What we will shit on, though, is the mentality and the bullshit that comes with it. For the simple fact, what the object is in boxing is to go in and to win. Whether it's by knockout, whether it's a decision, whether it's TKO, whatever. You go in there and you give it your all. This is what you're getting paid big money for. That's what you go in there to do. You don't go in there and decide I'm gonna take a night off while I'm in the ring, and especially at the elite level. That's just not how it goes. So what we want to see is these great fights happen, and it's not about everybody just have to gun at Canelo. No, but see what happens, and you understand this. The same people that are saying, "Oh, Canelo ain't got to fight everybody." Listen, if Canelo lose his titles, okay, don't you think Canelo would be trying hard to call out fighters that he never called out before? Fighters that have been calling him out now, and then he's saying they got to fight each other. So now you lose, your value is not the same. They're looking at you now like, man, I'm not making that same money fighting you as I would have before. Now, when I called you out before, see, it's this tit for tat shit. Every time a fighter has a mentality like, I'm the man, you gotta fight somebody else to fight me, right? You gotta fight. Then at the end of the fucking day, when you do that, understand, you lose. And all of a sudden it's like, shit, I can't call the shots anymore like I used to. Now all of a sudden, you start calling out Charlo or Demetrius Andre. Now it's like, well, where was all this when they was calling you out? Oh, they're not horrible fighters anymore? So, just saying, it's not about everybody trying to gun for Canelo. It's not about Canelo trying to fight, every single one of them back to back, because there's always some shit that's going to prevent that from happening. And yeah, I don't mind seeing these guys fight each other. But do understand something. A guy like Benavidez, who doesn't have a title, he's trying to get, he's former champion, got stripped for not making weight twice. We know that he's a capable fighter. We know Charlo's a capable fighter. We know, beterbiev and Bivol. We know these guys are capable. Canelo's capable. The whole point is, Caleb Plant's capable. Okay, these guys are all former champions. Champions and former champions. The whole thing is, if we had all of them at 168, yeah, we need to have these fights. And like I said a couple of videos ago, they need to do like a round robin tournament, man. Like they did that Super 6, man. They need to get stuff like that together. They need to organize. These sanctioning bodies need to organize ways to force these fighters into fights, because it's type of shit. And I gotta say it that way because it's the type of thing where when the fighters that are hungry, a guy like Jaron Ennis who's trying to get a fight with Terrence Crawford, who's trying to fight Keith Thurman, who's trying to fight Errol Spence. Then you got these little casual fuck boys. You got these little fanboys. Oh man, you ain't ready for them. Listen, fuck your opinion. The man wants to smoke. Yet you guys are sitting back here like playing favoritism. Don't you want to see the fights? So when those hungry, Errol Spence, he reminds me somewhat of, not personality-wise and characteristics, but I mean his position. He was in the same position that Jaron Ennis was in. Because everybody was talking all this shit, but they wasn't calling out Errol Spence. When Errol Spence was calling people out, they made the same excuses. Oh, he ain't ready yet, blah, blah, blah. Now, all of a sudden, Errol Spence is unified champion. Yet y'all and people still knocking him. Oh, he ain't gonna last 6 rounds with Terrence Crawford just because Roy Jones and James Toney or whoever said that bullshit. Well, my thing is, he knows what it feels like to go through that. Keith Thurman knows what it feels like to go through that. Jerron Ennis is in that position right now. And instead of you guys wanting to see the fight, y'all talking about, oh, he ain't ready. He got to prove this. What's the guy he beat, that Clayton guy, the guy that he just beat the other last month or whatever? He was supposed to be a step-up fight, right? Jerron Ennis destroyed him. 2 rounds, was it? Okay. 1 or 2 rounds? So you guys that keep talking all, he ain't ready, well, when will he be ready? What is it with this 2022 shit where everybody got to get 35 fucking years old before they finally ready? And which is another thing. Artur beterbiev is 37. So time is not on certain fighters' sides. But when you got a guy that's young and hungry, and you guys, oh, he ain't ready, you got to fight. Well, fight who? Because everybody he fight, he beats. And then you guys say dumb shit like, well, he gets hit. It's called boxing. Yeah, he's going to get hit. Who doesn't get fucking hit? It's not like he gets hit all the time. It's not like he's leaving the fight with his eyes and mouth all busted up. And even still, it's a fight. The point is, these fanboys know he's a threat and they're scared that he may beat Spence. He may beat Crawford. He may beat Keith Thurman. And Keith Thurman is a guy who hasn't been active. Keith Thurman fights and disappears. One fight, disappear another year or two. One fight, disappear another. So basically, he can talk all the shit he want. He can talk all the shit on Twitter. He can talk all of the fucking, he don't duck nobody. And he's this and that, and he's going to get back to top form, and you haven't seen the best Keith Thurman. It doesn't matter what he says. What matters is you getting in that ring and fighting and winning. And if anybody tries to pretend that they don't see the value, they don't see that this guy, Jerron Boots Ennis, can fight, then you don't know shit about boxing, and you basically just a fucking a hype job yourself. Because in all honesty, you don't have to like him as a fighter. You can say, I don't like his style, fine, whatever. But if you don't think that man's a threat, then you don't know shit about boxing, and you're just talking out your ass. Because Jerron Ennis, I believe, is ready for all of those guys. I believe right now he's ready. You guys that say, I don't think he's ready, okay, well then, you know what? I bet you the same fighters that you saying will beat him, they know he's ready. Oh, believe they know he's ready. And you want to know something about fighters, and I don't care what era of time it comes from, I always say this about any fighter. Okay? These guys should feel like it's an honor to share the ring with other fighters in the same seat as them. Instead of all of this, he's a bum, he ain't shit, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Oh, motherfucker, you ain't never did this, you ain't accomplished that. You do all of that, then you go in the ring with this same person and then barely beat them. Yet they ain't shit, and they haven't done anything, then why'd you struggle to win? But you guys get caught up into this soap opera shit. I keep telling you guys. If as long as the boxing fans or observers or whichever category you put yourself in, if as long as people are supporting their careers, even when they're having shit fights, when they're fighting guys that they shouldn't be in the ring with, they're going to continue to do it. But these are fights that I'm saying, shit, I'd rather see this. You show me one person that really loved boxing that didn't enjoy the Super 6. That was like one of the best tournaments that I can remember, period. Out of all the tournaments I can remember, that was one of the best tournaments that they had. And they need to start structuring these things again, man, because if you leave it up to these fighters, these promoters, they're not going to get in there and fight. Not the fights that you want to see. They're going to go in there and fight the easier fights, like, oh, he got a belt, but he got a belt too. But this one is way more vicious, so I'm going to take the easy route. This is what they're going to continue to do. And the thing about it is these guys haven't put the work in yet. That's why I'm like, when you guys even talking about they trying to be like Floyd, how the fuck you got motherfuckers that don't even have 25 fights. Floyd got 50 fights, so he got 20 plus fights more than you. How the fuck you think you in the same position Floyd was in? And is in. You're not Floyd. At the end of the day, when you look at your resume and say, out of everybody you fought 3 or 4 solid opponents. 3 or 4. when you got a guy that's beating 2021 world, what 16, whatever it was, like 2021 world champions altogether, champions and former champions, as far as their caliber of fighter, and you a guy that had 3 or 4 tough fights, and you're gonna sit and say, and you don't even have 30 fucking fights yet, and then not only that, when you got guys from this era losing to guys from Floyd's era, yet these guys are talking about somebody passing the torch. Pass the torch. What? If they would have gave you the ball, you'd have dropped it. There's no way you're gonna fucking tell me, like, for example, if Keith Thurman was the best welterweight in the world at one point, right? He shouldn't have lost to Manny Pacquiao. Because Manny Pacquiao was, all right, he's not the same fighter. He needs to ride off to the sunset before he gets hurt. He destroyed Keith Thurman. Then there was excuses. Oh, since Keith got married, he ain't been the same. How old was Keith Thurman? Huh? Was he 30 then? 29, 30? And he lost to a guy he called a dinosaur, to a guy he called a rabbit, a little rabbit who couldn't, and he lost to him badly. Badly. And we always hear Keith, like I said earlier, he always say, you haven't seen the best version of Keith Thurman. Well, when we going to see that, Keith? You already in your damn, what, 33, 34, whatever? When we going to see this best version of you? All these excuses that people make to not getting it right in the ring with certain fighters. I'm going to tell you exactly why. It ain't got nothing to do with he's not good enough or he got to prove himself. No. I'm going to tell you why. I don't give a fuck if it's Errol Spence, and you guys know. Whoever Errol fight, I'm rolling with Errol. I don't care if it's like Terrence Crawford. All these guys, I like them as fighters. Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford, Keith Thurman, whoever. You know why they want to avoid a guy like Jaron Ennis? Because he is super high risk and low reward. That's all it is. You can lie to yourself all you want. When you hear these guys talking all this shit, look at all this shit they talked about Floyd when he was ending his career. They all wanted that last fight with Floyd. Oh man, Floyd ducked me, son. Oh man, no. Then Floyd can look at you and say, what the fuck did you do to earn a shot with me? It didn't matter if it was Andre Berto. Sean Porter went and fought Andre Berto after Floyd. You know, Amir Khan, who, listen, that style he has wouldn't have bothered Floyd. Amir Khan, that little fast rabbit punching shit he does and move, he has power, but he tries to throw punches so fast because he tries to not get hit to where a lot of times he's just throwing punches and he's moving and he winds up running into a punch anyway. And then after Floyd would have beat him, you guys would have said, oh, Amir Khan already lost anyway. And like, you know, it was just the point that, you know, he should have fought him. You know, he was there. Look, end of the day, at the end of the fucking day, all right, at the end of the day, these guys that are champions, these guys that are calling themselves, you know, whether the public is calling them pound for pound or not, but they're putting themselves in that elite group. They're saying that they're pound for pound, one of the best. They are the best. Then they need to go in the ring with the guys. Like, let me say it like this. Everybody that Errol Spence has beaten, I believe Terrence Crawford will beat. Everybody Terrence Crawford has beaten, I believe Spence would beat. So, vice versa. You can go up in any weight class, there's guys who I feel like this guy would have beat everybody you beat. Okay? You know that this guy is in the same seat as you. This is the fight everybody want, so let's make it happen. That's how I'm looking at all of this, man. Stop all of this cushion and protecting these fighters where you're making excuses for them to not go in the ring and do what they get paid millions of dollars to do. So it's your fault when you keep tuning in and then complaining about it. This guy had no business in the ring. You had no business ordering that pay-per-view. You had no business buying a ticket to go see the fight. If you're going to complain about you don't like what they're doing. So I think 168 will be interesting with if those two guys was to come to that division. And I think Triple G is pretty much past. He's done. So just to see how things unfold. But I think that division would be so lit if those two came there with the addition of Demetrius Andre. Like I said, I don't know what Charlo is gonna, if he's ultimately gonna wind up coming to 68 or if he's gonna stay at 60. However it goes, these divisions, you know, we need star power. These guys need to go in there against other guys that have, you know, star power as well. But there's so much hate going on. There's so many, oh, I only cheer for this guy. Since I like him, I can't give him credit. I like him, I can't give him credit. We got so much of that childish nonsense going on. And this is why boxing, if you watch football, the stands is packed from beginning to end. You watch MMA, the stands is packed from beginning to end. You watch basketball, the same thing. Professional wrestling, same thing. Boxing is still the only fucking sport that the building is empty for the first. If they got 5 fights, they don't start coming into the co-main event and the main event. Other than that, you got about 300 people, maybe scattered around. Just, it's boxing is the only sport that does that shit. The only fucking one. And look at all the fucking money that the top fighters make. But they're the only sport that the building is fucking empty until the last two guys fight. It's like, wow. So, I don't know what boxing is going to do to cure that, man. I know what they could do, and that's put better cards together. Put solid cards together and stop putting these bullshit cards together with one maybe or maybe not good fight, but 2 known fighters or 1 known fighter against a subpar known fighter, and the rest is just a bunch of fighters that nobody care about. They need to build. It's a lot that boxing needs to do. But as observers of the sport, people that love the sport, I'm saying we got to stop supporting bullshit and start looking at what's really realistic. And it's hard for fanboys and fans to understand that shit because they're so busy rooting and cheering for someone. They don't think like, well, you know what? There's no reason why this fight shouldn't happen. Let me give you guys an example, right? Now, like I said, Canelo and his team said they have no interest in going back down to 160, right? He said he feels comfortable at 68. What if Canelo went to 60 and fought somebody other than Charlo? Would you Canelo fans be angry at him? Well, I don't even like to use this. I wouldn't be angry at any of it. I wouldn't respect it though. But you wouldn't. Would you respect that? Like, oh, would you go? Who's Charlo beat? What is Charlo? Charlo's a fucking champion. Caleb Plant, just like he was a champion, just like Liam Smith, all these guys that was champions, and Canelo beat them. Even though there was other guys better than them, they still were champions. So you got to respect that. But why would you respect if he went down and fought anybody other than Charlo at 160? And that's a fight that we all been wanting to see, right? And nobody, just like if Charlo went up to 68 and decided he's going to cherry pick some meatball instead of fighting Canelo, I wouldn't respect that. We know that Charlo's been calling Canelo out since 154, then again at 160, and the fight was turned down. If you guys are going to keep playing favoritism, then myself and every other content creator that come and talk sense, then you guys need to just skip past those videos and just go to these channels that kiss ass like the rest of you, because pretty much that's what you're used to. Let's make excuses for the fighters we like. I don't care who the fighter is. Just like people saying, I saw a video where it was a guy that said Anthony Joshua doesn't have enough time to learn Robert Garcia's style. That's his opinion. But I respect AJ for wanting to jump back in there and beat the guy that beat him. So win, lose, or draw, I at least respect him for that. His performance, that's something else we're going to have to wait to see. What Usyk does, we're going to have to wait to see. But at the end of the day, you guys have more criticism for guys that got the heart and determination to go in there and at least try to correct the wrong, try to get revenge, to go in there and want to show I belong here. You got more criticism to that than you do for guys ducking guys. You blame it on the other fighter when clearly the guy you're supporting is the reason that the fights won't happen. So I just thought about that, man. It was, that I wanted to put all that in instead of making a separate video because it really wasn't much to say about Joe Smith versus Artur Beterbiev. The fight only went 2 rounds, but I mean, Beterbiev, he looked good in that fight. I like what I saw, and I definitely want to see him versus Bivol. Definitely. And if 175 can't get anything popping and they can't really do anything to get eyes into the division, I would love to see them at 68 because right now 68, they got a group of fighters right there right now that stand out more than what's at 175. So just thinking, I haven't heard anything about them going to 68, but just thinking because Canelo name is still valuable. So honestly, I hope he beats Triple G the way he's supposed to. I hope Triple G don't end up getting brain damage or anything permanent, but I think he's gonna get beat up bad in this fight. I really do. If unless Canelo lost anything, if Canelo's the same Canelo, aside from him losing to Bivol, if he's, you know, because I just think Bivol's style, Bivol's just a better fighter, man. He stayed with what he was supposed to do. He's just a better man, plain and simple. But if Canelo is still that same Canelo, he should destroy Triple G, because Triple G is done. What I've seen of Triple G, he's a shadow of himself, man. So that's why I said put Triple G aside, because what I see is this: if Triple G goes in there and gets destroyed by Canelo, he's going to want to prove he still belongs. They'll probably bring him back against a lesser fighter, and if he stays at 68, maybe he'll go in there against Plant or Benavidez, and either one of those guys beat Triple G. Either one of them beat Triple G. Triple G's done. So I'm not even really adding him to the list. I'm just looking at this as a nail in the coffin fight against Canelo. And it's like, okay, one last big payday. Look, man, you had a good career. All right, call it a night before it gets really bad for you. That's up to the fighters that they decide they want to retire or keep fighting. But at the end of the day, I really don't see this being I don't see anything really happening for Triple G afterwards. Now, let's just say he happened to catch Canelo with a shot and get Canelo out of there. And it ends up being like a Povetkin versus Dillian White 1 type situation. It wouldn't matter, because it's only the 2-fight deal was Triple G and Canelo versus Bivol. Canelo would be pissed, and Triple G could just ride off into the sunset and go, hey, I beat him. But something tells me if he was to somehow pull off the win, he's not going to stop. Now, he does that, nobody can talk shit about anybody else that comes along and wind up beating Triple G. I don't want to have bullshit about, oh, Canelo gave it, but he gave him the blueprint or whatever the fuck, or however, whatever it may be. At the end of the day, we are here for boxing. I'm not here as a fan of nobody's. I'm here for boxing. And that's what I want to see. So, never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people, and I will catch y'all on the next video.